Okay, today we're talking about piecing and how to achieve the perfect 1/4 inch. This is the Janome quilt piecing foot O. This is the one with the guide on the side. You can kind of see the little black part. They also make one with no guide, so you can kind of choose which one you want. They're both used in the same application, and so today we'll talk about using that foot accurately and perfectly with your machine. Today I'm showing you on the Janome 15,000, but this would also work on machines like the Skyline S7, the S9, the 9400, the 9450, the 14,000, and the newest version 15,000 Quiltmaker. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a rundown, but if you want to comment with questions, I can try to answer them more specifically to your machine. When you turn your machine on, you have your utility stitches here. We're going to select this house button at the bottom, and this will show you categories of your stitches. The decorative stitch button furthers those categories, and up here on the top right is your quilting logo. Same thing on the other machines. It may be in a different position, but it'll say quilt, and that's how you'll know that's the one. Your second stitch on this screen is going to be your 1/4 inch piece stitch, and all that does, and we're in the US, so 1/4 inch, but if you're anywhere else, the 7mm is right next door. All this does is it moves your needle position over so that the distance between the needle and the edge of your fabric is 1/4 of an inch, which is pretty miraculous, but we're going to go a step further and kind of customize that to you. I teach a lot of our beginner quilting classes, and what I notice, and myself included, a lot of times we mush our fabric up against that guide, and what that does is it makes our 1/4 of an inch no longer a 1/4 of an inch. It's a little wider than a 1/4 of an inch, which for your beginning projects is probably not that big of a deal, but as you continue on to more complicated quilts, it starts to matter a little more. And so to perfect that for yourself, maybe we want to use a scant 1/4 of an inch. Down here, you have options. So you'll notice the machine automatically moved our needle over to the 8.3 position, and it changed our stitch length to 1.8, which is pretty short. If you're new to quilting and you do a little ripping, as I did when I was new to quilting, you may increase that a little bit. It makes it a little bit easier to rip out or remove stitches that maybe were not as perfect as you wanted them to be. And for your stitch width, you can also adjust this. So I found, after running some fabric through that little foot and testing it out, my favorite width changes to 8.5, which is only moving your needle about the width of a piece of thread. It's not a whole lot, but you have it at your disposal. Use it. If you hit this little arrow up, this will show you, yes, I've changed it to 8.5, and you can mess with your tension. I never change my tension on these machines. It's automatic. It's, one less thing for me to think about. I find it's perfect every time. But this is where you would make those changes. To customize your machine to yourself, go into your settings and hit favorite stitch on. What that does is it gives you these buttons. So until you turn that on in your settings, you may not see this, but what this does is it allows you to save favorites on your machine. So once you have this moved to wherever you like it, you hit FS, the button with the little manila folder is your save key, and then you can choose, I'm going to save it as favorite stitch 1, and what happens is you get a little yellow highlight behind the items that you've changed. In my case, I only have changed the needle width, the needle position, which is the width icon, and so I've changed that to 8.5, and now when I select another stitch and I go back to my 1/4 of an inch piecing stitch, my machine remembered that for me. Isn't that sweet? So that's a great way to customize your machine to do what you want it to do and to make your piecing really top notch. So stick around, we're going to do a couple more videos. Happy sewing. We'll see you next time.